Here we are in front of
College Lodge, also known as the Downtowner. How much information did y'all get on this?
not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
We just talked about heating and air conditioning.
Okay, so the Downtowner was a chain of hotels that went around the whole country that were built everywhere, right at the turn of, 40s, 50s, when everyone had cars, everyone was getting out to national parks, all of that. And so this up here is actually a parking lot for it. I don't know if you guys have ever been in the back. We can walk back there if you want. There's a ramp, and that was all parking lots. You'd get valeted up there, all of that. We can't use it anymore as that because this building doesn't meet the modern seismic code to use that as a parking lot anymore.
So you use it for basketball court?
Facility uses it for storage, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And so that's it pretty much about the exterior. So this is a very, very simple building, slab concrete construction. Professor Ward said you guys talked about HVAC mainly. If you know how modern buildings are built, it makes it very hard to put the utilities in this building. We don't have the head height. We have concrete for walls, so there's no running electrical through the walls. So it has a lot of exposed conduit through old and new electrical campaigns. What else? So what happened is, fast forwarding, CFC actually got approval to demo this early 2000s. That demo approval only lasts for 10 years, and the college let it last. So funding, whatever, who knows. And so now this is only one of a handful of mid-century modern left downtown, and so preservationists in the community are very, very protective of these because we don't have any more. And in my opinion, the library was a big catalyst for that. That got approved to be demoed after years of litigation, and so I think that even made the preservation community even more protective of these type of buildings. Needless to say, we did a feasibility study, which essentially we hire an architect to see what we can do to the building, and they go around to the interested parties and basically let us know what we can do with this building and how much it costs. They talk to HCF, Preservation Society, city zoning, city architects, neighborhood communities, as well as alumni and current students. They did the whole interest group. No one's going to let them tear it down. Not an option. Without a major overhaul. For preservationists, what does that mean? We strip it down to the concrete slabs and put everything back in kind. Can we still say that that's preservation? I don't know. Where does it land on the spectrum? Do we continue to just put lipstick on it? Does that help the life of the building? Does that mean we're going to still have it in 20 years? Probably not. So it does present the mid-century concrete issue. Concrete is not a permanent material, mainly because of the rebar that's put in. Once the rebar starts rusting and gets exposed to the elements, the structural element of the concrete is done. It's over.
Especially in a salt environment like we have in Charleston.
Especially. So technically, concrete is only lifespan of 50 years, technically. Is what they found out over the past 75 years.
And that's if you're lucky.
And that's if you're lucky.
And all the rebar is far enough in the concrete that it's not spalling.
So, what do we do with this? For the college, more beds is always better because it helps essentially fund the renovation. How long does it take us to make the money back on doing such a large-scale renovation? To throw you some numbers out there, to completely overhaul this, strip it all back, and put it all back in kind, we're looking at $35 million. If the footprint stays exactly like it is.
So how many rooms are in it?
100.
100. How does that compare with Barry or the others?
Barry is by far our largest dorm. That houses over 600 students. So Barry is huge. This is kind of mid-ground. You know, we can get to 210-ish students in this building here. So the next question is, how do we make it feasible? And this is one of the things that A&E, the architects, looked at for our feasibility study. Can we put an addition in that little back courtyard? Well, if we do, then we're blocking the natural light to the rooms that are there already in that L. You've seen the floor plan. Can we do anything out here? They are, purview. Will they let us? And so one of the ideas for that was stepping back, adding a 6 dorm rooms on this once it's stabilized or brought up to seismic code, so you wouldn't really see it from the street. And then if we walk over there, you'll see there's 2 columns that aren't there. It stops short of the ground level. Will we be allowed to fill that in? And that's the profile going horizontal. And if we could do all of that, that would bring this building up to 300 students, which would help long-term fund the renovation. All things the college has to consider. So, what else?
I think we need to look at it.
Yeah. So first of all, are these blocks super important? They've never let us remove them. If you can see the GNC downtowner, that's where that comes from.
DT. Downtime.
Sometimes I've walked by that, I never noticed that. It's just up there, ugly concrete box.
Yep. So where the store is now is the original cafeteria. If you stay here, if you guys want to, if you want to walk in, we can go look at that ramp so you can see. So you drive through here, and then
Is it easy to get to?
yeah, we just gotta walk through the
Okay,
front door.
here we go. I will hold the door, take a picture of everybody going in. People live here now, right?
This is the active dorm with 200 students living in it.
What do people think about living here?
So essentially everyone refers to it as, I don't want to say a cult because that is negative, but it has a cult following, quite frankly. Everyone who lives here loves it. It has the strongest alumni base that reach back out to the college.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so that group, that alumni group, when the architects did their little interviews, was the most outspoken about how it has to be.
Cool.
So right now this area is strictly used for facilities. It's kind of an unofficial hub because it's really central to the north side of Calhoun campus and the south.
Closer than further down.
Yeah, closer than our facilities building, which is at 133 Calhoun. They only open this up during move in and move out, so families can drop their stuff out and keep going. And this alley right here is where Utility Theater is on George, so it runs straight through. And here you can see the ramp.
This gets you upstairs, yeah?
Yeah, sure. Personally, would not want to drive up and down.
No, what this really cries out for is this a skateboard park.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I wouldn't, because I would be up against that wall.
So, essentially, the rooms that I was talking about that have been floated to be added would go up, the roof would go up to this balcony level. There'd be 2 rooms back there and 4 rooms here. Now that's problematic because look, we are right here. And then of course all of this would get filled in with rooms too. That means these rooms right here kind of get stuck in this dark well. And then another option that's been looked at this just gets flattened and this becomes a raised terrace for students who live in the building.
For skateboarders.
Or no matter what, this ramp is going. Sorry.
You see some of the issues with the concrete here cracking.
Yeah, all the cracking.
Wow.
Yep.
So is this rubber layer here part of the earthquake proofing, the seismic proofing of that building?
I genuinely don't know.
So it looks like something that would move.
Looks like we got a potential water intrusion.
You think? It's amazing.
If you want to walk around here,
Yeah,
you
yes,
guys
please.
should be able to see the general footprint of where the pool used to be.
Pool, all right. Oh, we don't have pools at the College of Charleston.
No, maintenance nightmare. Who's gonna fund that all year round? That's the trouble.
The best thing you do is just to go in partnership with the city or something. Oh, I didn't even know all this was back here.
So the pool is under the basketball court. It's still there, actually. They just infilled it. I don't. Excuse me. I'm not sure when the school acquired this building. I want to say the late '90s.
That sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
And aren't they building like another
Yeah.
student
So
apartment?
a huge building just got approved to go right here. So that really blocks us in.
And it's on the south side.
Yeah.
Are they taking down this?
So they got approved VAR. So they're actually, the company that's doing it are going to completely restore the King Street storefronts, which was a big win. And the majority of this is all infill from the 60s and 70s.
So who's they?
Facadism, right there. The developer. I'm not sure what company that is.
But their intent to put there is what? Dorm rooms or what?
A ginormous college apartment.
Okay.
Much like
So the stuff we're looking at here is the existing construction.
Yes.
This is the proposed ginormous bit.
just
And these
the
are the renovated
development.
King Street bits.
but it's going to be
Cool
like-
beans. And what site is
Correct.
that?
They're
Preservation
advertising.
Society. Yes. Very good. Thank you, Gabby.
This is not Satilli here, Satilli's further down.
Satilli's at the end of this alley on the left-hand side, right?
What's the whole part of this?
This is all King Street back in.
The height of that part here, is there something?
6 floors. The new addition is going to be 6 floors.
Yeah,
high.
Gabby's got it on her phone here, John. You can really see it.
Back, yeah.
You know what we're missing in here? Anything green.
Yes.
Well,
Green roofs.
what are you saying? Like green terrace could be a green option.
Right. So full disclosure, it was the architects threw out AstroTurf. So from a facility side, I know green roofs are awesome. Yes, all about it. But maintenance-wise, nightmare roof leaks. Roof leaks, they're horrible. We have so much square footage of roof on campus between 210 buildings. It's hard, unfortunately, to keep up with it. So, if we keep below that area, storage for facilities and stuff like that, perfect. Who cares? It's not. If we're putting another dining hall below it, or offices, or anything like that, the school takes on huge risk liability of water damage in 20 years, in 10 years, in 5
Right.
years.
There's never been a roof garden put in that wasn't accompanied by a lawsuit.
Yeah, 100%.
It seems like the utility is really needed. I mean, would you move all these vehicles down to where you are now? I mean, don't you need something in this area?
Yeah, so all of that would have to get reconfigured. So the facilities building did just get remodeled. So we all have fresh offices, which is nice.
Oh,
So
shit.
some of that can easily be moved back into our new building. But things like the street sweeper, where do we now keep that? We have parking garages, we have parking lots, but every single spot is rented, and that's very important for the college. I know, it's very expensive to go to college now, but I promise you that money goes places, especially somewhere like CFC, where we have, to maintain our historic buildings, it's 3 times as much as a modern building to keep that maintenance up. it's even hard for us to, you know, we have to get approval for anything over $1 million that we do, whether we fund it or we get loans to do it. And we have to get state approval in Columbia. The state has to approve that. And they don't have those buildings up there, those politicians. So it's really hard for them to understand why we're asking for $3 million for a historic house that houses 8 students. They don't understand where that money's going. And we as preservationists know exactly why we have to have that much money. So it's our fight to keep advocating for our historic structures so that we can keep them up and maintain them.
Well, and it's also one of the things, I'm sorry, John. One of the things that preservationists have always been had to do is to figure out ways to leverage the private sector. And, you know, we own this building now. I think the other dormitories are a slightly different model. Do we own all of those or just have lease arrangements?
So Barry, we own the Warren 10 and 20 and 1 we lease. Those leases are up in 2022. So how much do we put into them updating what they need when we might not be able to renew that lease in 22? You know, is it worth putting $3 million in it to not have that building in 2 years?
So you didn't do the construction though, or is it a
no,
just?
all of those were constructed by, so McAllister is actually a developer and he built most of those.
So is it an option to look to sell this and have a private developer do the work?
Always. The trouble with that is that's not standard practice for state entities. So getting Columbia to sign off on that, getting state politicians to allow us to do that is very hard.
So in other words,
another school's already done it, and then we can kind of go on the.
So the difference is this is already here, we already own it, versus there, it wasn't there, but we did own the property or not?
No. So developer developed it.
They own the property, they developed it.
They own the property, they developed it with the intent of immediately saying, hey CFC, do you want to go in on this? We'll lease it to you for 20 years and then we'll let you buy it. So
They being
the
developer can buy it in 20 years?
No, they want us to buy it in a set number of years.
I
They
gotcha.
want to own it and make their money back and
Right.
then sell it to us and make their money some more.
So are you obligated in that respect, or?
No, but because the CFC is so landlocked, well, how many empty lots do we have to build on?
Yeah, right.
We end up getting stuck for better or worse.
So does it provide any, pardon?
You're not gonna buy it, or you're
What?
gonna,
This?
no, once the lease runs up?
People much higher on the food chain than me will make that decision. But you know, they also have to look at how much how much work are we gonna have to put in it? Because right now, like 10 and 20 Warren, the developer, we're still leasing that, so they're still responsible for the roof and a lot of the exterior things, which saves us money even though we're still technically renting it.
They're more likely not gonna offer a lease after the lease runs up.
I think they will.
They will.
Yeah, although the concern with the college is because land is so valuable and there's so much development in Charleston now, it may be smarter for them to gut it and renovate it for traditional apartments, student apartments, and then sell it off to someone else. And it depends on what financial game they want to play, and we don't know until we get to the table to rediscuss the lease. The money they're making off of us for a 5-year lease may not be
As much as what they could do.
exactly.
Yeah, it's up in the air. But it does point to some interesting options for this potentially worth exploring given the limitations of the state and what they will allow. But, what you've described is a pretty impossible situation otherwise. If you're trying to stay away from the liability and you're trying to keep the cost down and people don't appreciate how much it takes, but yet you have a heavily vested group of people here, then what do you do?
Right.
Yeah. John, you were about to ask
I
something.
was trying to say, if the original purpose is saving this building, because it's one of the few remaining examples of modern mid-century concrete, etc., if you put all of these add-ons, extra rooms there, extra stuff here and there, aren't you going to so camouflage the building that you're not saving much of the idea of preserving a middle century concrete building. Now, she showed me a picture of this building. They're keeping the storefronts, and then the building comes up behind it. So you can clearly see that the storefronts are a preservation of something there was before. But if you put things around here everywhere, and all that's left is the frontispiece, people don't think of that as a mid-century modernist or concrete building. All they see is a large mural that's a bit overwhelming. So that's hardly representative of the mid-20th century. A modern mural, the movement didn't come into the 60s and the 70s where we did painting all this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fine line of preservationists. When have we crossed and gone too far?
When is the knot too big to unravel?
Correct. Correct. So this building, I completely understand what you're saying. This building, I think, because it's concrete slab, we can put partition walls in this all day long and remove them. And sure, we'll have some 4-inch holes for plumbing through the slab, but otherwise, it's here. It's not like a historic Charleston single house. You know, how much do we gut the kitchen house to give us a 2-story kitchen back there? Because it looks really cool and everyone loves exposed brick right now. You can't put that plaster back, not feasibly anyways. No one's going to ever want to pay to put that back, unfortunately.
So what we've described is really sort of a longer term financial management situation so far. We've only briefly alluded to some of the preservation issues.
Yeah.
Maybe we can kind of address those a little bit further here.
Sure. So
So I'm going to stop this portion of the recording.